Well, just wrapping up a tweet here, letting everybody know that Chef Paul Shufelt back in the house. It's great to have you, Paul. It's been a while.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
The corporate chef at Century Hospitality Group, and you guys now have too many restaurants for me to even name. It would take the whole segment.
Just say Century Hospitality. It's easy
Century
enough,
Hospitality, as well as a columnist for the Edmonton Sun. You can read Paul every Wednesday. And Paul, this Wednesday, you wrote about this incredible cod recipe. Now you're going to show us how to put it together.
Exactly. So we started off, I took some baby potatoes here, I put them in cold water, brought it to a boil for about 2 or 3 minutes. So we're going to do some lemon and thyme roasted potatoes with this. So I just wanted to bring them up to a boil, let them warm through a little bit, then I'm going to drain off the water.
Now, I'm always curious when you specify something, and in this case you noted that you put the potatoes in cold water and then brought it to a boil. Is there a reason why you didn't just drop them into boiling water?
That's sort of an old chef's technique. Starting with cold water allows the potato to warm through the center, so you get an even cooking rather than them being starting to cook on the outside and then still raw in the center.
That's a great tip.
Anytime I cook potatoes, I've always start with cold water.
Okay.
Okay, so I do that just to kind of get the cooking process started, so that I don't have to worry about the skins being all burnt on the outside by the time the potatoes are cooked in the middle. So I'm just going to take a little bit of olive oil in the pan here.
So just so we're clear here, Paul, do you want those potatoes essentially cooked all the way through before they hit the frying pan?
As I said, just sort of a 2 or 3 minute boil. They still want to be a little bit firm. And as I said, if you start with that cold water, it's going to take about 10 minutes for it to come to a simmer, and then 2 or 3 minutes of cooking, and then just strain off the water. A little bit of fat. As I said, the olive oil in the pan. Going to season them a little bit with salt and pepper.
Are you a little bit more sensitive to the heat that you use or the magnitude of the temperature if you're using olive oil?
Yeah, you don't want. I mean, you definitely don't want a super high heat like this. And I'm just going to get them started here in the pan. Then I'm going to fire them in the oven and allow the oven to do the work. I'm going to have it at about 400. And as I said, these are going to be lemon and thyme potatoes, but I don't want to put those flavors in now, because what's going to happen is they're going to burn. You're going to get a bitter taste of the lemon peel and the lemon juice, and the thyme's just going to burn as well too. So I'm going to let these cook for about 10 or 12 minutes, and then I'm going to finish them.
More of kind of a finishing flavor.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What caught your attention when it came to deciding which fish you were going to use for this dish? What do you like about cod?
Well, when I write my articles, it's always sort of what's going on in the season, and this time of year, maybe cod isn't the specific fish that's seasonal this time of year, but New Year's resolutions, changing the way you eat a little bit, and my approach has been not necessarily to starve yourself in the new year and, oh, I'm going to change everything about my life overnight, but it's just making healthier choices. And this is sort of a dish where, instead of maybe having a chicken with some skin on it and having mashed potatoes, now you're going with a roasted potato. It's a little bit better for you. You're going with some fish. We're going to do a great ratatouille, which is essentially a vegetable stew. And it's just a lot of healthy ingredients, but again, you're not sacrificing flavor or quality and not feeling like you're having to eat, twigs and starve yourself sort of thing.
No kidding.
Right?
Okay, so we got about 1 minute left here, and then Paul will be joining us again at 8:40, but let's get started here.
We're going to put our vegetables together. I'll show you a quick trick here. So I've taken the top and the bottom off the pepper. Just going to slide my knife right along like so.
Nice and easy.
Get rid of all the messy inside. Quickly chop it. So we're going to, all our peppers, etc., all our vegetables for ratatouille, we're going to use peppers, eggplants, zucchini, red onions, and some tomatoes.
Is that the traditional French collection of vegetables?
You bet, you bet. And the idea here is you want to cut them roughly the same size. You're not too concerned about them looking exactly perfect. Just for cooking time, you want them to be roughly the same size.
So you're talking about everything from the zucchini to your eggplant to your peppers, all of that in the same size?
Exactly, roughly the same size. Don't worry too much about them looking exactly the same. But as I said, we're just sort of roughly the same shape, roughly the same size. And then what I'm going to do, I like to sear these off one at a time. They all require a little bit different cooking time to start. So I sear them off separately, and a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper. So I've got my pan here.
Okay.
We're just going to start. I always like to start with my eggplant because it takes, one, it soaks up a fair amount of olive oil, and two, it takes a little bit more time to become tender. If you don't cook this down a little bit, it'll actually be a little bit chewy in your ratatouille.
Okay, so we're going to let you continue to work. We'll check in with you over the next little bit, and then another full segment coming up at 8:40. We'll go eggplant, and then what's the order of the vegetables? I know the onions will probably stay in for a while.
Yeah, it's not necessary to worry too much about the order because they're all going to assemble later and then stew.
Okay.
As I said, just this one, I like to start with the eggplant because it takes a little longer for it to cook.
Okay, as mentioned, we'll check in with Chef Paul as he continues to put this spread together, his fennel and coriander crusted cod coming up along with this fresh ratatouille. Of course, you can read all about it on the Edmonton Sun's website right now, and Chef Paul back coming up in just a few minutes. Bridget Ryan from The Carrot after this. 9:43 as we wrap up what has been a fascinating hour to watch with Chef Paul Shufelt. We kicked it off at about 20 minutes to 8. That's when you got started on this ratatouille and these beautiful thyme and lemon potatoes. Chef Paul, maybe bring us up to speed.
Yeah, so we've roasted off our ratatouille, slowly braised it, stewed the vegetables, got them nice and soft. We had the tomato paste in there, the tomatoes, a little bit of red wine. And we finished it off with some fresh basil, some thyme, a little bit of rosemary in there, some garlic.
And now you've seen this is kind of, it's really melded together, and I guess the sauce in a little bit of a way is kind of thickened up because you've let it sit.
Exactly. The tomato paste kind of helps everything come together, and then we reduce that down a little bit as well too.
Okay.
So we got our cod going here. I've just seared it on one side. I'm going to put some fennel. When I say crusted, I'm going to put some on, but I'm not like overwhelming it because it is a pretty strong flavor. So I've got some fennel and a little bit of coriander seed here, just like so, equal parts.
And these two work well together? How come?
They actually like each other quite nicely. They got the licorice flavor. You got a slightly like a mustardy or unique flavor with the coriander, and they just kind of blend well. And it all sort of ties in with the Provençal style vegetables, and then the thyme and the potatoes. So it's a nice blend.
You've got a kind of a really neat grinder here. Could someone just use like a coffee grinder or something?
You could use a coffee grinder. You can even, worst case scenario, you could take those herbs and put them inside a little bag and just pound them with the flat side of your knife or even the bottom of a frying pan to break them up a little bit. They don't have to be really, really fine like so.
Okay.
So they can be a little bit coarse. Just keeping in mind the coarser they are, the stronger you're going to get like a big punch of flavor.
Okay.
Just going to fire that in the oven for a second.
Now, you keep sort of searing things and then using the oven. You did the same thing with the potatoes. Why with the fish?
I like to do that for a simple reason. One, I mean, as chef, you're always used to, you need all your burner space, so you want to get things in the oven out of the way and let them cook. The other thing is nice even heat. You're going to get it cooking from all around rather than just searing from the bottom. So I get that little bit of caramelization going on the fish, and then I've got the sear I'm looking for, and then as I said, I just want to let it cook evenly throughout in the oven, as opposed to just that direct heat coming from the bottom.
Okay, and of course you're going to be keeping an eye on that because fish will cook quicker than chicken or anything else.
Totally. I mean, I seared that probably a little longer than I normally would, but typically just get some color on either side, fire it in the oven. You know, you want to depends on the thickness of the fish, but you're looking for it to become opaque. Typically anywhere from about 6 to 8 minutes at about 400 degrees.
And the same principle, once it starts to kind of flake off, that's how you know it's ready.
You don't want it to be flaked like canned tuna per se, but once it starts to flake a little bit, and as I said, you're looking for it to go from that to that opaque color.
Okay, so we got about a minute left, so I'll let you start plating this. I'll remind those of you at home that if you'd like to make this at home, Paul's made it nice and easy. We've got the recipe posted under the BT Extras link on our website, breakfasttelevision.ca, and of course this taken from Wednesday's edition of the Edmonton Sun. You can read Paul in there every Wednesday.
Yeah, and the one nice thing about this dish, and I should say, I didn't bring anything prepared today. This was all made here within an hour this morning, and I didn't even work that hard. I could probably have done this in 40 minutes.
We've been hanging out, chatting.
Totally, and the average person could do this at home too. As I said, I mean, you're not worried about the finesse when you're cutting the vegetables. You're not worried about, the potatoes are pretty simple to do. All you got to do is sear the cod.
Well, and I love dishes that come together as you're hanging out in the kitchen with your friends. That's what it's all about. So here we go as the cod hits the plate. This looks amazing. Paul, I have 10 seconds left, but I want to give a quick mention out. You guys, for folks on the south side, you've just opened up a new restaurant in McGrath. Yeah, we opened a new deluxe location in McGrath, just near the Save on Food. It's the Markets by McGrath in that neighborhood there. So congratulations
been open
on the continued success.
For about a week now, and we've had a great reception from the people in the neighborhood.
Wow. This just looks amazing. I'm going to set this up so Parker can get a nice clean shot of it. Look at that. The Coriander and Fennel Crusted Cod with a fresh ratatouille and lemon thyme potatoes. Chef Paul doesn't mess around. You can follow him on Facebook. Just search Fresh or Chef. You are kind of fresh sometimes, more off camera than on. Chef Paul Shufelt. We'll be right back with more BT Bridget Ryan after this.